Considering my videos are primarily focused on games, I think it's important every once in a while to kind of pull the curtain back and let everyone know the games that I have been playing recently. But since my channel has been up for nearly 15 years, I wanted to go back in my back catalog of videos and see when was the last time I did this series of videos and how many do I have? Well, come to find out, I've done 5 episodes, so this will be my 6th, but it has been almost 12 years to the day since my last games I've been playing recently episode.
And it's seriously like some of the greatest music I've ever heard in a game of all time. Like the battle music is just so great. It's like and then it just, I don't know, it's just this crazy orchestrated like music that is just phenomenal. I love it.
But hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Before we get started, I want to ask all of you, what have you been playing recently? Let me know in the comment section below. I've been really appreciative of all the engagement in the past couple of videos. I mean it when I say my favorite part of YouTube is when I see a bunch of comments that I can respond to and I kind of kickstart conversation with all of you. So let me know down below what you have been playing recently. Like I said in a previous video of mine, I've just kind of been all over the place when it comes to games this year. Not really been able to commit to any one or many games to completion, but the past couple of months, I've been kind of going back and playing some comfort food games, chipping away at my Xbox backlog, and kind of playing some things on Game Pass, and even played a game on Switch, which I don't do as often as I probably should, so we'll be talking about that here as well. But to kind of get things started, we're going to be talking about a favorite game of mine on the Nintendo 64. This is the HD version. Of course, I don't have that because it is a digital game, but I am speaking about Perfect Dark. What an incredible first-person shooter this was. I had a call out to my Discord community where I said, hey, we need to get a game night going because we saw footage of the new Perfect Dark game that is still in development, an exclusive for Xbox coming probably in the next couple of years, but I was so shocked how good it looked. It very much kind of almost seemed Mission Impossible meets Mirror's Edge with kind of its first-person almost parkour that was going on, and was very excited about that. But Perfect Dark on the N64, I grew up with, playing multiplayer with my friends. The single-player campaign was so good, especially because you can play the entirety of it with a friend. But what I will say, more specifically for this video, I want to talk about the multiplayer because that's what I was playing with my Discord community. You can still play Perfect Dark on the Xbox 360, the HD version, online with friends. I will not go into the details of how difficult and challenging it is to get a couple of friends in a room and make sure they're added to the game. It was a bit of a nightmare to do, but we eventually got online, we were playing it, we played for several hours that night, and it was really a snapshot back in time to when I was a kid, and was a reminder of just how special a first-person shooter this game is, and so ahead of its time. I almost want to do a video just capturing just how amazing it was for Rare as a developer back then to be releasing the quantity of games they were in the late 90s, early 2000s, but still retaining such a remarkable quality with their releases. And Perfect Dark was no exception. The variety of game modes in this for multiplayer is incredible, but beyond that, the types of guns in this game, you would have thought Perfect Dark was developed by Insomniac, of course the creators of stuff like Resistance and Ratchet and Clank, because there are so many unique guns to use while playing. And what was really special about that night is that my brother-in-law specifically had never really played Perfect Dark before, and some of my other friends really didn't have much experience with the game either. So them figuring out that every gun in the game has a secondary mode, it just really mixes up and keeps gameplay fresh, especially when you're using guns like the laptop gun, which they came to find out that you can literally, in its secondary mode, toss on the wall with 500 bullets of ammo, and it acts as a sentry gun or a turret gun. So as people are walking by, you're just mowing people down, racking up your score kind of passively in the background, and continuing to tally up your kill count in the game. Not to mention something like the Farsight, where you have an X-ray vision during its secondary mode, and you can just kind of like hide in a corner somewhere behind a box and just start picking people off as they're kind of walking through the level, unbeknownst to them that you have a radar or a target on them at any point in time. My personal favorite is the Cyclone. When you reload that gun, it has such a fantastic sound effect that is just, oh my gosh, sends me right back to my childhood. But dual Cyclones, forget about it. If you're playing with me, it's game over. I'm sorry. We probably need to play without Cyclones the next time my friends and I get together. But I just wanted to highlight Perfect Dark because if you've never played it, I still think it stands the test of time. I think a lot of the N64 library nowadays, whether it's the camera controls, just kind of some archaic game design choices, just early 3D models, right? A lot of games from this era, including the PS1, just really don't hold up well. And I think even if you remove kind of the biased, nostalgic lens, I think Perfect Dark is still a really, really special first-person shooter. And I played a little bit of Perfect Dark Zero too, to see if we should play that versus the original for the game night that I had with friends. Doesn't hold up as well as the first in the series for me personally, but what are your thoughts on Perfect Dark? I think it's still an incredible first-person shooter, and even though you have to kind of jump through some hoops to play online nowadays, still a ton of fun to play, great variety in the multiplayer maps, and just messing around with all the different types of guns is still such a blast. Perfect Dark, so freaking special. Now, next up is a game I don't have the physical copy of because it is a digital-only version, and that is Easy Come, Easy Golf on the Nintendo Switch. Now, if you got a glimpse of the character models there, you would have thought, hey, that reminds me of a golf game that was on PlayStation, and you'd be right. So, Clap Hands, who previously developed the Hot Shots golf games, and also Everybody's Golf, which is somewhere here on my shelf, they, for whatever reason, chose to change development, and they were only developing exclusively for Apple Arcade and other kind of mobile type games. They made a game called, I think, Clap Hands Golf for Japan. They retitled it and ported it to the Nintendo Switch, and I am so glad they did. I kind of bought it on a whim shortly after it released a couple years ago on Switch. Played it a little bit, but it didn't really kind of sink its teeth into me too much. And then last night, actually, my brother-in-law was over and we played it for like 4 or 5 hours straight. Every hole we were kind of passing the controller and playing, and it was such a blast. And what it reminded me of is my love of Hot Shots Golf 3 and 4 on the PS2 and also Open T on the PlayStation Portable, the PSP. My dad and I used to play that game so much growing up that my dad actually bought a PSP of his own so that we could play multiplayer together on Open T, that little PSP title of Hot Shots way back when. But Easy Come, Easy Golf is a little bit different and it has a little bit of a spin on the traditional Hot Shots Golf series. You can still do a world tour and kind of have your own character sort of, but instead of like doing match play and unlocking characters along the way, it's a little bit different where you almost have a party of characters, almost in JRPG fashion, and so each hole is played by a different one of these characters. And so as you kind of increase your rank, play more tournaments, more of these characters will unlock, and naturally they're going to be more powerful, they'll be better at putting or their approach shots, and so you begin to kind of build out your ideal party of characters, and you can kind of customize which character will play which hole prior to starting a tournament. And so after each tournament, each character kind of accumulates some experience points, their kind of primary stats will increase so they become better golfers, and you're better equipped and prepared to kind of tackle tournaments later on. Really interesting spin on the traditional Hot Shots Golf kind of series of games. I'm not sure which one I really prefer, but I think it's fun enough. It's a decent enough spin because instead of just playing as one guy and finding some OP character, this really requires you to kind of reframe your thinking and really kind of strategize prior to playing tournaments. But there's a variety of other modes too. You can play online with friends. You can even play kind of a local kind of match play with friends as well, which is what my dad and I used to do when we each had our PSPs and we're playing Open T. But for me, it's just so great to have another arcadey golf game to be able to pick up and play for short bursts. If you've never played a Hot Shots golf game, I'm telling you now, pick up Easy Come, Easy Golf on the Switch. As the name implies, it is very forgiving for newcomers. It is very easy, and it gets to a point where you get so into kind of that 3-button click system of Hot Shots that you're finishing holes in like less than 30 seconds. And you're finishing 9 holes in like 5 to 8 minutes because you kind of become so good understanding how you need to kind of change the trajectory of your shot with wind effects and stuff like that. But if you like arcadey golf, like Mario Golf, and you're like me, and the more recent Superstar Golf or whatever it was for Switch really did not kind of capture your love of Toadstool Tour on the GameCube, or the one that was on Game Boy Advance developed by Camelot, Mario Golf just hasn't been doing it for me for the past couple years. Easy Come, Easy Golf is the real deal. Pick it up on Switch. And if you end up doing that, let me know what you think in the comments section below. It really is a special pick up and play golf game, and it's only 20 bucks on the Switch. So give it a look. I know it'll probably be one of my most played games this year.
Nice shot.
Next up, we have a game in a long-running series that I've surprisingly never played a game to completion in this particular series, and that is Splinter Cell. Right here we have Blacklist, and a couple of weeks back, I was just really in the mood to play like a tactical shooter, similar like the Rainbow Six Division type games, and I've had this in my backlog for quite some time, and I'm so glad I started it. Now I know why the Splinter Cell series has like how many games at this point, but Blacklist is really special. And what I like most about it is it reminds me of when I played Hitman Blood Money for the first time years ago. You can approach any level however you choose. If you want to do a full-on stealth approach and never actually take someone's life, you can do that. Or you can go in with assault rifles and kind of just go wild and just kind of steamroll every level. I am very much, at least early on, someone who is trying to approach every single level as stealthily as possible, not take anyone out. It was so fun kind of just knocking out each guard, stealthily kind of making your way through each level, hiding them away so no one kind of discovered their bodies, and then continuing to kind of progress the level. But I will say the game gets to a point where it is very challenging to do that. You kind of do need to eventually kind of start taking people out, picking people off. But each level, there's about, 12 to 15 levels in its entirety. From a story side of things, it's Mission Impossible mumbo jumbo. You have 48 hours to save the world, or else this terrorist organization is going to retaliate against the United States. I don't think you're going to play Splinter Cell Blacklist for the story. Maybe you will, but I have appreciated just how pissed off Sam Fisher seems to be in every scene that he's in.
Sam, truck's outside. It's a hit squad. They're kicking in the doors.
My money's on Cud's force.
If you can arrange my safe exit, I promise I can reward you. Every man has his price.
I want information. Majid Sadiq.
But just getting back to the level design, there's a great variety in the types of levels that you're going to be playing. One of my favorites was this mansion that you have to get into. The dark of night, there's guards everywhere, there's guard dogs walking and sniffing around to try and find you. But how you get into the house, again, is your choice. You can take out all these guards with your gun and walk right through the main door, get to the top of the house, hack the computer, get the data piece that you need, and bounce right out of there. Or you can, again, stealthily kind of make your way around the level, find a pipe that you climb, get through a window, hack the computer, and then get out of there without alerting anyone. So, very much a playground. You can very much kind of experiment of how you want to approach each level, and you can outfit Sam Fisher with all kinds of unique gadgets. You have sonar goggles, night vision goggles, different types of gadgets that you can kind of use throughout each level to see how many guards are around the corner without alerting them. And then at the end of each level, it kind of grades your performance on how you approached each level. At the end of the game, you can unlock additional trophies or achievements based on how you approach the game. But I've been kind of doing a very hybrid approach. There are some levels where it's very conducive to kind of stealthily making your way around. And then there are other levels where you really can't help but take out people unless you are incredibly patient. But I will just say, from a Splinter Cell side of things, I've looked up best of lists, and surprisingly, this is up there among the best Splinter Cell games like Chaos Theory. So you can find copies for super cheap. I've been really enjoying my time with it, and I've only been playing single player. I'd like to invite my brother-in-law over, and you can actually approach other levels, and you can do it co-op. So I think that would be super fun. But Splinter Cell Blacklist has been a highlight game for me so far this year. Very much enjoying my time with it.
Reposition brakes, have him disable the truck.
Negative. This could be our only chance to learn their destination. I'm gonna put a tracker in their cargo.
They're in hazmat suits. You don't know what you're dealing with.
Probably trained with horse.
If a single guard spots you, it's all over.
Forget who you're talking to.
Now, last but certainly not least, a game that I finished a couple of weeks ago, and it's from also a long-running series that I'd only played the second and third game. I actually have my original copy here of Fable 2, but we are not talking about Fable 2, a favorite game of mine. We are instead talking about Fable Anniversary, the remastered version of the original game on the Xbox. I was actually challenged with playing this game on a Discord server that I'm a part of, where we kind of do these backlog challenges on a quarterly basis. And I'm so glad that the person selected Fable for me because, again, I'd never played the original. I actually have a great love for the series. I think it tends to kind of be a love or hate franchise for people because the sense of humor, I totally get it, is not for everyone. Even the graphical style, the character models, is just kind of rubs people the wrong way.
Hello, I remember you. We thought you died in that awful bandit raid all those years ago. So where have you been all this time? You do remember me, don't you? I was looking for Rosie, my teddy bear, just before the raid.
For me, Fable 2 especially, I played it at a very difficult time in my life, and so having that little companion dog in the beginning of the game and kind of just going on this adventure in Albion was so special. And I think that's what the Fable games get really right. It just feels kind of like this fairy tale come to life. Even the narrator, when he's kind of telling the story of the game as it kind of plays out after you kind of finish key missions, it does feel like you're playing through this fairy tale of sorts.
There she crawled for 3 days, blind and desolate, until she was found by bandits, Twinblade and his men. She began a new life of servitude among their clan. But the bandit king sensed her exceptional strength and power of will, and listened as she whispered dark prophetic truths in her sleep.
And I think at the time of Fable's original release, it was kind of ahead of its time and kind of differentiated itself from its similar medieval kind of fantasy RPGs like Elder Scrolls, Baldur's Gate, and even the Gothic Risen series, where one, it had that goofy sense of humor, but beyond that, it had a morality system before the likes of Mass Effect really came into play, where the appearance of your character literally changes throughout the game based on how you decide to complete different missions, whether or not you choose to spare people's lives over the course of the game. And so by the end of Fable, and every Fable that I've ever played, 1 through 3 now, by the end of the game, have a little halo across my head. I have little butterflies flying around me because I tend to be good when I play RPGs. I think the only game that I could do evil types of things would be the Old Republic type series of games. I just think to be a Sith Lord would be fun. But when it comes to Fable, I've always tended to kind of err on the side of, I want to be a good person. But I think it goes without saying that there are things about the original Fable that have not aged well. Combat does feel kind of clunky, even though there is some variety with ranged, melee, and magic abilities. It just at times felt very repetitive and wasn't as engaging as some of the later Fable games, and certainly many of the RPGs that have since come out. However, it was still such a treat for me to kind of go through this story. It took me about 15 hours to complete the game. I didn't do a great deal of the side quest. I was primarily focused on the main quest, and at times just wandering the world of Albion. I think they really get the ambience and just feel of kind of navigating these countrysides and forests and villages really well, and the original Fable really was playing with that kind of Sims-like idea where you can walk up to characters and fart and make jokes and do goofy things, and that'll kind of key into how much people actually like you. It really has that Sims-like quality to it, but the game is just overwhelming with so much personality and charm. Personality and charm that I know does not click with everyone, but for me, I love the world of Albion. The original Fable was a treat to go through, and I'm very much looking forward to playing the next installment and kind of this reboot of the franchise for Xbox going forward. I'm looking forward to playing that. I think it was dated for 2025, so we'll see if that actually pans out for them, but cannot wait to continue to play this long-running franchise that works for me. And again, the entirety of the Fable series is on Game Pass, so definitely worth checking out and giving it a try if you haven't already.
Oh. Right, I guess it's safe to let you in now. But hurry up, there could be more of them out there.
Alright everyone, those are all the games that I've been playing recently. A little bit of the old, a little bit of the new here with all kinds of different types of games. But if there's one game I'm going to recommend people after this video go check out, it's Easy Come, Easy Golf. Whether you're a fan of arcade sports titles or not, I think that is an excellent pick up and play game that is very addicting. And I actually can't wait to finish up this recording so I can go continue to play it myself. But please leave me a comment below. Let me know what you've been playing recently. I want to again thank you all so much for watching. Here in the very near term, we are actually going to share my thoughts about the upcoming reveal of the successor to the Nintendo Switch and some of the games and console features that I'm hoping to see. So stay tuned for that. Again, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video.